ونستغفره ونؤمن به ونتوكل عليه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله سبحانه وتعالى فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له ونشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له ونشهد أن سيدنا ونبينا وحبيبنا وشفيعنا وسندنا وأولانا ومولانا محمد عبده ورسوله صلى الله تبارك وتعالى عليه وعلى آله وأصحابه وأزواجه وعشيرته وأنصاره وعلى كل من اتبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. قل يا أيها الكافرون لا أعبد ما تعبدون ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد ولا أنا عابد ما عبدتم ولا أنتم عابدون ما أعبد لكم دينكم ولي دين. سبحانك لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم. رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. اللهم انفعنا بما علمتنا وعلمنا ما ينفعنا وزدنا علما. Respected brothers, elders, youngsters and sisters listening at home, in our previous lesson, if we recall, we spoke about those people who accepted Islam, who are known as the Sahabas and the early pioneers of Islam. And then we spoke about Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam and his Sahaba gathering in the house of Hazrat Arqam radiallahu anhu, which is known as the Darul Arqam, and the reason why they used to gather there. For example, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to educate the Sahabas, because obviously they had a big mission in front of them, big responsibility in front of them. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was training the Sahaba in the house of Darul Arqam, in the house of Arqam radiallahu anhu, which is known as Darul Arqam. And then we spoke about the 5 different stages of da'wah, and we briefly spoke about, first of all, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam preaching privately. In the beginning, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, when he became a messenger, he wasn't told and he wasn't informed to go on preach openly. First, he was told to preach privately within his family, within his friends, which was known more of a secret da'wah. And we mentioned the 5 different stages. Today, inshallah, we will speak about the second stage of da'wah, which was open proclamation to Islam. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, not Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, sorry, the Sahaba, the immigration to Abyssinia, inshallah we'll speak about this. And the third thing we need to speak about is the Islam of Umar radiallahu anhu. So we spoke about the private da'wah and the reasons behind it. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he invited in private da'wah for 3 years. He invited towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala privately, secretly, for approximately 3 years. We now move on to the second stage, which is called open preaching with no public conflict from the Muslims. So we will preach openly towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but we will not oppose our enemies, because they were still very, very few in number. So this was the second stage of da'wah. They used to openly preach towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. After 3 years of private preaching towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayat, فَاصْدَعْ بِمَا تُؤْمَرُ وَأَعْرِضْ عَنِ الْمُشْرِكِينَ, that proclaim openly at that which you have been instructed. As in, call people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala openly. And also this verse was also revealed, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ, that, warn your close family people, those who are closely related to you, warn these people. So the moment this ayat was revealed, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he invited all of the sub-tribes of Banu Hashim. He invited all of the sub-tribes, and he invited them for a meal at his house. And he gathered, approximately 40 people gathered. He told Abu Talib, who was his uncle, who used to look after him, and he told Abu Talib to prepare a meal for them. And obviously the whole purpose of inviting them to his house was that he wanted to call them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khair, anyway, Abu Talib, his uncle, he prepared a meal. Over 40 people were invited amongst his tribe. Over 40 people were invited. Amongst them, Hazrat Hamza radiallahu anh, Abu Lahab, Hazrat Abbas radiallahu anh. Obviously at that time those people hadn't accepted Islam. All of these people, they were called towards this meal. And also Abu Talib, he prepared some food, and he prepared some soup also. And we recall it mentioned in the books of Seerah that only a little bit was prepared. But from one plate, more than 40 people ate. Obviously this was a miracle of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. From just one plate, more than 40 people, they ate to their fill. And also from one cup, more than 40 people drank milk also. Milk or soup, different narrations. More than 40 people, they drank from one cup. And they also drank to the fill as well. This was also a miracle of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Now the point we want to mention is, before they finished, just before they finished, Abu Lahab, he knew what was coming. So what he done was, he made an excuse to leave. Because obviously Abu Lahab was one of the big people from amongst the tribe. He made an excuse to leave, and with him he took many of the other people with him. So what happened was, you know what happens when intishar happens, everything starts going all over the place. So at that time Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam wasn't able to invite them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Abu Lahab, he, you know, whatever plans he had, he passed and he was successful in his plan. And anyway, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the following day he prepared the same meal again, with the same intention of calling them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He called his people from his own tribe because of the ayah which was revealed, which I mentioned, وَأَنذِرْ عَشِيرَتَكَ الْأَقْرَبِينَ. This time he got the chance, he invited them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this was the first time Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam actually preached openly. Not openly in front of everybody, but openly in front of a very big group. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, this time he preached openly, and he told them, and he called them towards one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he told them to leave the worshipping of idols. At this, Abu Lahab, he got very, very angry, and he said, this seems to be a very unworthy message. It doesn't have no esteem to it. It's not big. It's not a big thing. It's a very unworthy message. And we have our own way, we follow the way of our forefathers, we worship idols, etc., etc. Who does this person think he is, to oppose the way of our forefathers and to oppose our ways? And this, Abu Lahab was the only one that was being harsh. At this, Hazrat Ali radiallahu anhu, who had already accepted Islam, we spoke about this before, he stood up and he said, O Nabi of Allah, I will help you. And many of the other people, they didn't say anything, but this is where this ended, and this is where we move on. After this, after a few days or maybe a few weeks, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he publicly called people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and he publicly called the whole of Makkah towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The incident is famous, you must have heard it again and again briefly. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he climbed on the Mount of Safa. The Mount of Safa was the closest mountain, obviously we know today as well, it's right inside in the Haram, is the closest mountain in Makkah towards where they were. Towards the Kaaba, it is the closest mountain. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he climbed on the Mount Safa. And climbing on the Mount Safa meant that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is going to say something important. It is going to be a big message, because obviously that mountain at that time was very, very huge. And going up Mount Safa meant that you are addressing all the people of Makkah. So Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he went and he climbed the Mount Safa, and he gathered all of the tribes, and slowly all of the tribes, they gathered around. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, once they gathered, tribe by tribe, he took their names and he said to them, if I was to inform you that there is an army behind these mountains and they will come to attack you, would you believe me? Every single one of them, they said that we believe you, we have never heard you say anything wrong. We've heard before that Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was known as Ameen, the trustworthy, as-Sadiq, the truthful. So they said, we have never heard you say a lie. So we definitely will believe you. So then Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, I invite you towards the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that believe in La ilaha illallah, you will be successful in this world and in the hereafter. And I warn you of a punishment which is going to come in the hereafter. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he gave a couple of messages, and he also addressed Hazrat Fatima radiallahu anha, saying, Oh Fatima, I will not even be able to help you on the day of judgment. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said a couple of things in which he invited them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And even at this juncture again, Abu Lahab, he started attacking Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and first he threw some sand towards Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, trying to say, in that time it meant that throwing sand towards somebody, trying to say that, whatever you said, it doesn't mean anything, it's not even worth this mitti, this soil. That's what he was trying to say to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And he said, may you be cursed, is this what you gathered us here for? Is this what you called us here for? You're wasting our time. And this is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the ayat, Tabbat yada Abi Lahabi wa tab, may the hands of Abu Lahab perish, and this surah was revealed, Tabbat yada Abi Lahabi wa tab, which is in the 30th para. After this anyway, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, after this he invited everyone towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whoever he came across, he used to call them towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Especially he took advantage of the season of Hajj. People used to come from different countries. He used to invite towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and openly he was calling people towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Obviously the Quraysh and the non-Muslims, the disbelievers at that time, they were seeing all of this, and they are seeing that people are coming towards Islam, and they tried to stop him in different ways. And they tried to stop the message of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam being spread. And that I'll just mention the few different ways they tried to stop the message of Islam spreading. Number one, first of all, they went to the uncle of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abu Talib. We all know that Abu Talib obviously didn't accept Islam, but Abu Talib was a great carer of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He looked after Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. He protected him. He kept him as a guardian. He looked after him in different ways. And Abu Talib, in fact, was a means of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wasallam's message, spreading towards and calling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Khair, what they done is they went to Abu Talib, his uncle, and they said to his uncle, who was obviously, he was one of the highest authority, because he was the son of Abdul Muttalib who had passed away. Now he was the highest authority at that time in Makkah. So they said to him, "Oh Abu Talib, this is your nephew. This is your nephew, he's crossing the line. Yeah? He's crossing the line, he's cursing our idols, he's preaching a complete new message which we have never heard of before. He is calling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, towards the worship of one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and we have never heard of this message of this happening before. This can't carry on. He can't carry on calling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anyway, Abu Talib, they said all of these things. Abu Talib, he gave with them some gentle words and he let them go on this. And then it finished there. And then after this, more and more people started accepting Islam. And obviously the kuffar, the disbelievers, are getting more and more angry. So once again, they increased the pressure and they came to Abu Talib again. And this time, they just said to him straightforward, you've got a choice of two. Number one, you either hand Muhammad Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam over to us, or secondly, we will stop him from preaching and we will deal with him openly. So they gave him the two choices. Either hand him over or stop him from preaching. So you go to him, explain to him, stop him from preaching, or secondly, you hand him over to us and we will deal with him. And they gave him these two choices. So Abu Talib, he came to Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you might have heard this before, and he said, "O Muhammad, do not put me in a situation which I cannot bear." Obviously, he at the same time, he had to keep everyone happy, and at the same time, he wanted to protect Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam because he was his nephew. So he said to him, don't put me in a very difficult situation. Have some mercy on yourself. Yeah, don't put any burden on me. Upon this, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he started crying. Because Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam thought that now even Abu Talib has gone against him. So he thought that one guardian, that one helper, he's gone against him. So upon this, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he had tears in his eyes and he started crying. And he thought, I don't have anybody left for my assistance. The one person who was assisting me here, even he has left me. Upon this, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, obviously he was very, very strong. He was a prophet of Allah. What did he say? That even if these people, these kuffar, they were to place the sun in my right hand, and if they were to place the moon in my left hand, I will never leave the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Be it I perish, be it I leave this world. Oh Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He grants fatah to the Muslims. The Muslims, they conquer everything. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grants dominance to the Muslims. Until then, I will not leave the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is what he said blatantly to Abu Talib. And upon this, Abu Talib said to him, do what you want, O my nephew. I will never surrender to your enemies. So Abu Talib, he gave him assurance that I will not surrender to your enemies. I will continue assisting you, I will continue helping you, and I will continue protecting you. After this, they seen that Abu Talib was very protective of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the third time they came to him again. And this time they said to him that we offer you one of the children of Quraysh, whose name was Ammar bin Wahid, who was a very handsome child. And they said, we offer you this child and you give us Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam in return of him. And Abu Talib said to him, what kind of trade is this? This doesn't make sense. You want me to grant you, Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you're going to give me this child. This is not happening. And he told them straightforward that, I am not going to hand over Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam to you. And at this moment, the non-believers, they started torturing the Muslims at that time. And this is when, they started torturing the Muslims and putting them through many, many difficulties. So that was the first way they tried to stop the message of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam reaching the people. They went through Abu Talib. Obviously, they failed in this. So what did they do? They moved on. Secondly, what they did is they tried to ban the recitation of the Quran. Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he used to be reciting the Quran around the Kaaba, they used to start making loud noises, and they would start shouting so that the words of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it wouldn't reach the people. Yeah, so they used to try and disturb the words of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam, so that the words of the Quran doesn't reach the people, because they knew if when the words of the Quran it fell on the ears of people, they would accept Islam straight away because of such beauty of the Quran, such beauty of the voice of Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So they tried to make loud noises and they would shout when Nabi sallallahu alaihi wasallam was reciting the Quran. There's one story which is mentioned that whilst they were in Darul Arqam, it was said that there is only one person who is reciting the Quran openly. So they asked all the people in Darul Arqam, who is ready to recite the Quran openly? Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu was a Sahabi who had already accepted Islam. He says, I will volunteer to go and recite the Quran openly. They said to him, no, O Abdullah, you have no protector. You had no protector. Bear in mind, whoever was a Qurayshi, whoever was from them tribes, they would be protected to a certain extent. But Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he wasn't amongst those tribes. They said to him, they will torture you. But even then, as Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu, he went and he recited the Quran in front of everybody. They put him through many, many difficulties and pain. But even then, he went and recited the words of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is why later on, through all them sacrifices, Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu was one of those through which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, to learn the Quran from Abdullah bin Mas'ud radiallahu anhu. And we hear many, many narrations mentioned from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And upon this a story which is mentioned, which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam mentioned, there's a story mentioned in Tafsir, in Seerah, that the three leaders of the tribes at that time, upon an occasion, they went secretly to hear the recitation of the Quran which Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to read. One of them was Abu Jahl, number two was Abu Sufyan, and the third one was Akhnash bin Shurayk. These three, they were arch enemies of Islam. Upon an occasion, they all thought, let's go and hear the words of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam at night time. So at night time, all of them, they went to a hiding place. Obviously, they didn't want Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam to see them, so they went into hiding and they were listening to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. None of them knew about each other being there. They didn't plan it. None of them, they knew about each other. Imagine how beautiful Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam's voice was, that the entire night they spent there in listening to the words of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam until dawn, all the way till morning. And then after this, they started going, all three of them started remaining, and they all met each other in the pathway. And they all had to, say to each other where they had come back from. So then they said, let's not tell anyone. And the 3 days in a row, the same thing happened, until they decided, let's not go back, and let's not spread this message. Even these people, they were mesmerized by the voice of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, and they knew that this was the right religion, and this was deen al-haq. But this was through this, through these loud noises, they used to, try to stop Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam from inviting towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The third way, quickly we'll just go through this, they tried to stop Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam giving da'wah, was that they ridiculed the Prophet and his believers. Once he didn't receive revelation, Abu Jahl's wife, she started saying, I see that your shaitan has abandoned you because you haven't, received any new verses. And they used to say stuff like this to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to feel grieved. Upon this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He revealed the verses, مَا وَدَّعَكَ رَبُّكَ وَمَا قَلَى. Though when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't abandoned you, He hasn't detested you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala hasn't forgotten you, and Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam was felt warmed. And then after this, the fourth way, they used to, say lies about Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, such things like he is crazy, he is majnoon, and they used to say stuff like this, na'udhu billah, about Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is a fortune teller, he is a magician, black magic has been done upon him, he was deluded into thinking he was a prophet, etc., etc., he is a poet. Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam himself said, I lived for 40 years before this and I never writ any poetry. But these people, they used to say stuff like this, they used to lie about Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam so that people don't accept his message. But even then, all of these plans they were making, they were all failing, because many, many people were still coming towards the fold of Islam. Fifthly, what they tried to do is they challenged him for a miracle. They said, bring Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, bring an angel down so that an angel can, proclaim the truth about you, etc., etc. And they demanded miracles from him, transfer your house into gold, stuff like that. They demanded miracles from Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He showed Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam many miracles, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala showed those miracles which He wished. For example, the splitting of the moon, the splitting of the moon, which was a miracle Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam performed. Anyway, even if these people were shown these miracles, they weren't going to accept the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moving on, there's a story mentioned about Walid bin Mughira radiallahu anh. Upon an occasion, obviously Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam used to take advantage of the Hajj season. So all of them, they gathered around Walid bin Mughira, who is the father of Hazrat Khalid bin Walid radiallahu anhu. And they said to him, oh Walid, he was a very big person in Makkah. They said to him, the Hajj days are coming close. What shall we do? People are going to start accepting his message because people will come from far and wide. So they made a plan and they said, what shall we do? So he said, give me your opinions, and then, I will give a mashwara at the end. So they started saying to him, let's say that he's a soothsayer, as in he is able to see the future. Upon this Walid bin Mughira, what did he say? I have come across many, many soothsayers. By Allah, this man is not a soothsayer. So then they said to him, they suggested, let's say to the people when they come for Hajj, to the Hajjis, that he's a mad person. Upon this Walid bin Mughira, he said, I am fully aware of insanity and mental illness. I know what a mad person is, who is a mad person. By Allah, this person, Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he is not a mad person. If we say this to the people, they won't accept that. And then they said, let's say he is a poet. Walid bin Mughira, upon this, he said, I am a poet myself. This person, the words he speaks, this is not any type of poetry. These are some special words. His speech is not parallel to any poems. To any poets. And then they said, let's say that he's a sorcerer. That he has magic powers. And then they had made the decision, he said, he cannot be a sorcerer. Walid bin Mughira, he said, he is not a sorcerer. So then they said to Walid bin Mughira, you tell us, what shall we say then? So then Walid bin Mughira, he thought about it and he said, the closest thing and the best thing we can say is that he is a sorcerer. Because everything else they won't believe, this is the closest thing we could say. So then when all the Hajjis used to come, they used to say that he is a sorcerer, etc. But even then, in fact, more than anything, people started getting closer to the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is, this strategy completely failed. The pilgrims who came from far and wide, they got acquainted and they got close to Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. And then after this, another way they tried to stop the preaching of Islam was outright torture. And we all know the stories of Hazrat Bilal radiallahu anhu, Hazrat Khabbab radiallahu anhu, Hazrat Saheb radiallahu anhu. They were made to go through, very, very, many trials, and they were, made to go through the hot sand of Makkah. They used to be lied down on that, and they used to be tortured. And outright torture, so that these people leave the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But even then, these people, they remain steadfast, and they still used to stay with one Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the last way, and a different way they tried to stop the dawah, was they came with middle ground attempts. They said, one day you say that you are a Muslim, and one day we will worship idols. And they said, let's come to a negotiation, let's come and do some middle ground. And upon this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala revealed the verses, قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الْكَافِرُونَ لَا أَعْبُدُ مَا تَعْبُدُونَ, that, O Muhammad, say to them, O kuffar, I will not worship what you people worship, and whatever you worship, I am not going to worship that. And then at the end, the ayat says, لَكُمْ دِينُكُمْ وَلِيَ دِينُ, that you have your deen, you have your religion, and I have my religion. And obviously this plan didn't succeed as well. And Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he continued calling towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And these people, they carried on torturing, and they carried on giving difficulties to the Muslims. So then after this, Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he instructed some of the Sahabas to migrate toward Abyssinia. I think we've taken a lot of time, so inshallah, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq to take lessons from the life of Nabi sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us steadfastness on Iman also, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us the tawfiq also to call towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Inshallah, in our next lesson, we'll speak about the immigration to Abyssinia, and also the Islam of Hazrat Umar radiallahu anh, and also the year of grief and the trials of Ta'if. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us an understanding. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin. Subhanallah.